So then that brings us to torque, right? So how did you settle on the power numbers that you did? Like what's your philosophy behind that?
So 16.8, numbers,
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
16.8 was just kind of where we landed. We were shooting for 16 because I feel like for the size bike, it's the perfect amount of power and it's a universal kind of power for everybody. Right. It's not like too much power, but it's not too little of power.
Right.
So 16, I feel like we landed right in the perfect power range. Like it's perfect for the trails. It's perfect for racing. You're not going to get super hurt on it. You don't have to spend a shit ton of money to go and upgrade it. I just think that was like the most ideal power range for the size and weight that we were going after.
Right. Well, I think, so you have 16 has like always been the most fun for me. I've always had the most fun at 16 kilowatts. Like we have to reference like the E-Ride, right? Like the 3.0. But what I like the simplicity of EcoSport, right?
Yeah.
Very simple. But I do feel like it would be better if it was like whatever Eco Sport or something like 3.
Yeah.
And like you guys have like having 3 power modes to deliver the power differently, because like even in Eco, my wife can't get on the 3.0, right? Because she's still like it's still
too much.
It's still too much, right?
Yeah.
So like at the 16 kilowatts, introducing another power mode is definitely needed. It's something that
and you know, it hits all the demographics of different riders that are going to be getting on this bike from ages, you know, whatever 9 to 40 or 50 years old, whatever they're going to use it for. And that was the goal, is like, how do we capture from, you know, your little kid up to your adult that wants to go ride or chase their son around on.
Right.
So I think that's where that concept came from.
So then you have, I think, riding the bike, like the ergonomics of it, and then the things that it does and doesn't have, make it pretty obvious. Well, it appears obvious from the outside looking in that the bike was kind of designed for a particular type of scenario, right? It feels to me like the bike was designed for more of a race-bred, race-enthused style of rider. Is that true? Or like how, I mean, with the seat, the non-functioning brake sensors right out of the gate, like all of that stuff, like like that is, you know what I mean? Like, like that tells me that we're not like, we're not playing
honestly,
this game.
We've just touched the surface with this bike.
Yeah.
What is coming will be like mind-blowing for most consumers. I think getting into, like you said, the brake sensors and all that stuff, the goal was to come out with a race-ready bike, and that is still the goal. That is our entire purpose behind the company. But we had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. We had to see what we were up against, what we're gonna do with the bike, and what it's actually capable of doing. So yeah, no, I feel like the bike is very well set up. We literally took a production bike, or not a production, a sample bike, and we had it at the races, and we just sent a rider out on it. And we went out and won. We're like,
that's crazy.
We did not expect that, right? And then that's what's kind of transpired into, okay, we need to do this, that, and the other to really push that racing background into the company. And the biggest thing that is different from other companies is, you know, everything is designed in China and then shipped over here, right? There's no testing done in the US with more like smaller manufacturers and smaller companies, as far as like E-Ride and RAR and RFN. I'm not too sure with them. I think they're out of Australia. They're testing development.
Yeah.
But our biggest thing is we have a US engineer, we have a US team, everything's tested and developed here, and then we're shipping that data to our own factory in China, right? And having it made. That's what's going to be a massive difference between us and the rest of the competitors.
Well, you see that it feels like it takes so long for these companies to finally listen to the most obvious of like frustrations from the community, right? One thing that we all deal with is swing arms, right? One thing that we all deal with is chain guides. There's those issues that are just now like kind of starting to be listened to, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say like a reason that that's happening.
I know where this is coming.
Is that you have a bike now that is starting to solve those problems. And the only way, like competition like breeds success in that, you know, like the only way for these, if you come out with a bike that has all the things that these other bikes don't and people are wanting to be competitive, then they have no choice but to land on the Tork.
Exactly. And I feel like when I was working with the other manufacturers, nothing was getting done, or it wasn't getting done on a timely manner. They were not listening at all, right? And the only way to do it is to do it and prove them wrong, and then they're going to have to copy. That's all they know how to do.
Yeah.
They don't know how to come up with new, fresh stuff.
Tell me how you really feel.
No, I'm being very transparent. It's just, that's the way this industry unfortunately works.
Yeah. Do you see an industry in the future that is radically different than the one that we have grown up in the e-moto space? Like, do you always see that, like, the manufacturing and like the Chinese brands being in this, or do you see a time at some point where, like, there'll always be Chinese manufacturing? Like, there's no way to get around that.
Unfortunately, there's no way to get around Chinese manufacturing.
And I don't know if it's even unfortunate, to be honest with you.
It's not unfortunate, because I mean, America is built from China.
Right.
I mean, there's no getting around it. I mean, KTM's from China, Cobra's from China.
Right.
All these companies are from China, and I think that at some point, most of them are going to weed themselves out, because they're not going to be able to keep up with what Americans are actually doing.
Right.
And that comes back to what Stark's doing, what Benel's doing, what Dus is doing. They are setting the industry standard, and we're coming along as well. Now, we're here. Like, we're not messing around anymore.
So where do you see it? Like, where do you see, like, the Tork brand in 3 years? Like, obviously you've stayed up late at night looking at your ceiling.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, like, where do you see, like, this is, like, going for you guys? Like, what if you had a crystal ball, or you had all the tools, and you could say, hey, this is what I want out of Tork, or just the industry as a whole in 3 years? Like, what are the staples?
I mean,
the must-haves?
You're always going to have those companies that are still popping in and out and making junk and selling it and doing all that stuff. And unfortunately, that's just the way that any industry goes, right? But I do see our goal for Tork is to become an actual OEM, right? That's our, between having the race model or the race mentality and being an OEM, that is our business model.
Right.
So that's where we see ourselves in the next 3 years.
So you want to be one of the brands that's, like, competing on the major stage, because at some point, right? Like, at some point there's going to be, whether it's an electric class or an electric and gas class in these supercross events, like, eventually there's going to be something to that level that includes electric.
And that comes back to the race series and me being on that side of it, because I'm on both sides. Working, you know, I'm still working with other manufacturers and bringing them in on the race series side to only help the industry. But I also have, now with the race series blowing up, I have phone calls coming in now from other venues that are saying, okay, now it's time, where they shut me down in the past. Right. And if you don't lean in this year, I mean, that's on you. So if you're a manufacturer that's not going to get involved, you're going to be behind and you're going to be gone. Right. So that's where I see that going. And that's what I mean by, or what you said is, like, most companies are probably going to go away at some point.
Well, it's natural selection.
Exactly.
Like, you're going to change and you're going to adapt, and you're going to be willing to invest the time and resources into making this better, or you're just going to be obsolete.
Well, I mean, I'm very fortunate to where I had to go through the struggle with other manufacturers and other companies, to where now I can do it and do it the right way. And that's where we're going to make the biggest change. And that comes back to dealers, right? Dealers are our working soldiers. If you don't take care of the dealers, you don't have a company, right? And we're only going direct to the dealer. We're not doing direct to the consumer. So that's going to make a massive wave through the entire industry with our company.